Okay. Candid Camera. This one's written by John M. Floyd. Tommy Wilson was a happy guy. He had a job as a waiter, a rent-free home. He lived with his mother, and a plan for the future. That plan involved his secret girlfriend, Priscilla Kimball. She was the daughter of a wealthy restaurant owner, Arthur Kimball, who was also Tommy's employer. Although Tommy was neither overly smart nor overly fond of Prissy Kimball, he was clever enough to realize that if he married her, he'd be set for life. But he needed to gain her protective father's favor, and that was what led to the kidnapping of Ron McGraw. Ron was the restaurant's assistant manager, one of whose duties was to courier the week's cash to the safe at Arthur Kimball's home every Saturday evening. The route covered 3 blocks, including a short, dimly lit alley, and that alley's only door and window belonged to So What, a shop that happened to be closed this week. On this particular Saturday night, a masked Tommy Wilson followed Ron into the alley, whacked him on the head from behind, and dragged him to Tommy's car. The unconscious Ron and his money bag were driven to an abandoned shed at the edge of town, where Tommy left him tied and gagged. Which was how the cops found Ron the next morning, frightened but unhurt, after Tommy burst into the station and reported a man lying on the floor of the shed near his home. He said he hadn't gone near the man. Neither victim nor rescuer had seen the other. Tommy just ran straight to fetch the authorities, who'd already been alerted that Ron hadn't arrived home last night. The swarm of police also found the restaurant's money bag nearby, intact and untouched. Tommy was an immediate hero. 3 TV stations interviewed him. "I was walking down the street," he said modestly to the cameras, "and heard him call for help." The boss's daughter was thrilled. Her father even said to Tommy with a wink, "Maybe you and Priscilla should go out sometime." When Tommy noticed one of his former teachers, Angela Potts, in the crowd, she approached him, smiling, and said, "You're quite the star. You find a missing kidnapped victim, your boss's money." "Thank you, ma'am," said Tommy. And it's about to get even better," she said. "Tomorrow they'll know who did this." "Excuse me?" "There's only one place McGraw could have been attacked without being seen, the alley between Main and Jefferson, and the sewing shop in the alley has a security camera." Tommy's heart dropped into his stomach. "They do?" The sheriff called the owner, Mary Appleton. "She's out of town, and she says that the camera inside the window aimed at the alley, and it runs 24/7. Miss Potts smiled. "Mary will be back tomorrow, so then they'll check the camera and we'll know who the kidnapper is. Hey, I gotta go. Congratulations again." A camera? Tommy knew what he had to do. He picked locks in the past. Tonight, he would break into the shop and steal the video. And if he couldn't, he would burn down the shop. He would have no... Around midnight, Tommy headed downtown, his lock-picking tools, and just in case, a can of gasoline in tow. As soon as he entered the alley, though, he found Sheriff Charles Jones waiting and Miss Potts. "Going somewhere, Tommy?" the sheriff asked. Tommy's jaw dropped. He was caught, red gas can handed. Suddenly, understanding dawned. "There's no camera," he said, groaning. "Is there?" Miss Potts shook her head. "But why'd you suspect me?" he asked her. Well, let's figure it out. Angela noticed one integral clue when she was listening to Tommy's account of the events that landed him on the news. As she already knew, the police had found Ron McGraw bound and gagged after Tommy alerted them to this location. But being bound and gagged, there was no way Tommy could have heard him calling for help. Presented with this information, Tommy was forced to confess and was charged. Darn, Tom. Tomorrow.